Okay, I'd like to call the April meeting of the Black Mountain Town Council to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for your own intentions. Please be seated. You got some announcements you want to make on this? Okay, sir. We'll go to the ethics statement. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the council, and all council members have a duty to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner, free of conflicts of interest. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any council member?
No.
His or her family or close business associates?
No.
Does any council member have a financial interest in any contract coming before the council today?
No.
There being none, all council members have a duty and obligation to vote.
I have an item I'd like to bring to y'all to add to the agenda for tonight, if I may.
Go ahead.
Describe that? You should have a printed resolution in front of you, R-26-32. This is the resolution authorizing the mayor of the town of Black Mountain to execute an amended joint cooperation agreement to add the town of Mars Hill and the town of Marshall to the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium. I'm the primary representative for the town of Black Mountain to that consortium. It serves the region in addressing housing issues and makes recommendations that then the primary body, which is executed through the city of Asheville, that being the major jurisdiction in our 4-county area. And we would like to add Mars Hill and Marshall to that consortium as voting members. Currently, we have representatives that attend and participate, but they don't have a vote. And as they are, in our region and certainly have a vested interest, that's why this is before you today. And I would hope that we could consider that tonight so that we can move forward.
Okay, Council Member Allison Berry has requested this. It can be added to the agenda provided that it is a unanimous vote. So would you like to make a motion for me to add that?
I'd like to move that we add this to the agenda, and I'm fine for it to be new business, or it can be in the consent agenda. If you feel like it needs more discussion, we can do new business.
New business. You can go ahead and put in new business.
Okay, so I'll move that we add it to new business for the evening.
Okay, any more discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous, so it will be added to the agenda.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, we have an order from the hearing that we had prior week that should have been added to the consent agenda. That's where it would properly go. You have the form of the order, I think, in front of you. So I would encourage you to add the order onto the consent agenda as the last item.
This is the appeal.
Yes.
Consent agenda for the last item is what the barrister is requesting. Everybody in agreement on that? Not seeing any disagreement, we will add that to the end of the consent agenda. So that will end up being item 7E.
We had that other when we moved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
From new business.
11B got moved over.
All right. And then, this Asheville Regional Consortium, where does this one come in?
My apologies, that
That's
should
the one
probably be part 1 and 2. So there are 2 pieces here. There's the joint cooperation agreement. It's all part of the same.
Okay, it's all part of the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, Richard.
All right, we got Dr. Chantel Simpson, President and CEO of Appalachian Health, asked to make a brief presentation to the council this evening. So,
And good evening, council. Good to see you. And it's my pleasure this evening to introduce to you Dr. Chantel Simpson. Dr. Simpson she is the president and chief executive officer of the Appalachian Healthcare Centers in Western North Carolina. She's got some good news for you and the citizens of Black Mountain. Dr. Simpson has an MS in nursing from Western Governors University and a Doctor of Education in Organizational Leadership from Spalding University, and it's a pleasure for me to serve on the Appalachian Healthcare Board, and met Dr. Simpson. We serve on another board together, so she is extremely capable, and you'll enjoy hearing from her this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for allowing us time on your agenda this evening. It's important to us. I don't come alone. Of course, Mr. Harris is with me, but in the audience is our current board chair, Mr. Michael Woods, and our immediate past chair, Ms. Christiana Tugman. And it was important to us to come today to speak to you personally about our desire to open a federally qualified health center at 3164 US 70. We heard about the abrupt closure of family care related to Hurricane Helene, and I believe they closed on Halloween of last year. So my team and I immediately came out and looked at the facility, which is slightly over 8,000 square feet, and decided that it would be an appropriate place to open what I would believe will be Black Mountain's first ever federally qualified health center. And for those of you all who may not be aware of what an FQHC is, our main goal is to be the safety net for those within your community that are either uninsured or underinsured, but we also see any patient with commercial insurance, and we provide whole person care. We offer a sliding fee scale, and we don't turn anyone away. So we are excited to bring a bit of joy to this community, especially following Hurricane Helene. We will be offering primary care services, pediatrics, as well as adult primary care. We will offer OB, GYN services for women, but also OB services, family planning, leading up to the delivery. We will not deliver the babies, but we'll partner with local hospitals to have that done. We will also offer behavioral health services, the traditional psychotherapy, as well as substance abuse treatment, dental, full service dental for adults and for children, an in-house pharmacy that will offer 340B services, which are low-cost pharmaceuticals for the community here, as well as other ancillary services, such as we have team members who spend all day enrolling residents in Medicaid or finding food assistance, job assistance. And our goal is to begin a countdown with the community. We want everyone to be excited with us. We want to hear from the community, hear what the needs are, and make this something that as a community we do together. And so we were waiting. You may have seen the recent article in the Black Mountain News that was released last week. My goal was to speak to you all before that article was released so that I would have your support, and knowing that it's important to myself, my board, and my team members that we hear your opinions on how we can help make this a positive thing for the community and have the community kind of feel like they're a part of it all as well. So I'll stop there and entertain any questions.
Well, we're thrilled to have this.
Okay.
Go ahead and go back 60, 70 years ago,
Okay.
when several members in this community realized that we needed more health care out here. And that is when, like Mr. and Ms. Stiles, and I'd say my father and several other influential people started the Stormwater Valley Medical Center, which in its day was long before these healthcare places started. And unfortunately, it just didn't quite fit the bill that they had anticipated, but it looks like your organization has morphed and can go ahead and help fill that and help fulfill the dream that they had.
Yes.
Of providing healthcare out here without having to go to Asheville.
Absolutely.
Yes. Good. Thank you.
We're glad that you're here.
Thank you, and I will remain in touch with you all, letting you know how we progress along. We are hoping our timeline, just in case you may have wanted to know that, we hope to initiate the competitive bidding process this month, by the end of this month, and begin renovations this quarter with my goal is that we're occupying the space and seeing our first patient by December. But I was going to say I'm telling the public January, but I guess I just told the public. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, at any prior meetings, the board wanted to hear from staff on how things are going with the move of the fire department and the police department. So, Chief Red and Chief Blue here to make a presentation and ask questions you might have.
Chief Red will start us off. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Right now, we're operating in an unstable and unsustainable environment across all of public safety. Police, fire, and EMS are each facing facility challenges that directly impact safety, response, our capability, and overall service delivery to the community. This is not a future concern, this is a current concern, and a growing operational risk that we're managing every single day. For fire department core issues, focusing specifically on the fire department, due to the conditions identified by the engineering firm, our main station has been deemed unlivable and our firefighters have been displaced. Currently, our personnel are living in a parsonage next door at the Presbyterian Church. This space was generously offered at no cost, and we're extremely grateful for that support. However, this is not an ideal solution. It was the only viable option to maintain response capability. We have kept our apparatus secured in the station's bays, which is critical. These are millions of dollars of equipment, and maintaining security and preventing tampering is non-negotiable. But this displacement is creating a real operational impact. There is a measurable delay in response times due to the separation between the living quarters and the apparatus, and despite that, we're going through everything possible to meet the ISO standards and state requirements. At this time, morale has been significantly affected, and our firefighters are operating in conditions that are far from normal, and it's all taking its toll. For the core issues for law enforcement, policing requires high-level security due to the nature of their mission. Successful criminal justice proceedings depend on maintaining investigative integrity, securing records, handling and strict preservation of evidence throughout the chain of custody. The current situation has created challenges that directly impact those requirements. Officers are having to enter compromised and inadequate spaces to access evidence, ammunition, and critical equipment. And this creates inefficiencies and introduces real operational and legal risks. These added burdens are increasingly taxing on those officers who are already operating in high-risk environments daily. Despite that, they continue to answer the call, uphold the law, and meet the state standards, all while adapting in constantly changing conditions. Looking across all services, police personnel are still required to enter the facility to access critical equipment. Fire is operating displaced capacity, impacting readiness and coordination. And our EMS partner with Buncombe EMS is currently housed in Swannanoa. This has increased response times, reduced coverage efficiency, and created serious public safety concerns. We have made multiple attempts to coordinate with Buncombe EMS supervision regarding placement and operational needs, but it's not been successful to their needs. That limits our ability to function as a unified system. Across all services, this results in increased safety concerns, greater liability exposure, and significant operational inefficiencies. Relocation update. We have moved forward. We were at Ridgecrest and was able to secure that area for our needs the second day after we were told that the building was unfit. However, due to the concerns with cost, we're able to relocate from Ridgecrest, and we'll be doing so officially on April 20th to Givens Highland Farms. This is an improved workplace space area to help centralize operations, and it is a step in the right direction. I want to recognize Fire Marshal Doug Morrow for his efforts in helping make this transition possible. This location is leased at $1. So, and we will be able to stay there until October. That's their deadline. In October, they need the building back. Ingles property status, we were looking at property there, and currently we have not received any response to our outreach efforts, and the lack of communication limits our ability to evaluate space at Bunzel for any potential solution. For an urgent strategy, there's an immediate need to move forward with the modular units. These units are critical for securing evidence storage, ammunition, functional workplace. However, this is not a long-term enhancement. This is just an immediate operational necessity. Hendersonville had a triple-wide option. We evaluated the triple-wide option, and it remains viable, but transportation costs are significant, which requires a more thorough review before moving forward. For our due diligence conducted, we have done our due diligence as far as evaluated FEMA eligibility, our temporary housing considerations, and our long-term financial impacts for our decisions. We are working to ensure a path forward in both operational sound and fiscally responsible. Our alternative approach, as part of that effort, we're evaluating leasing 2 modular units with the potential buyback option at the end of the lease. This may provide greater flexibility, align better with FEMA reimbursement, and offer a more scalable, cost-effective solution. The key deadlines where we stand today is RFPs were due this past Friday. The engineer's report has been resubmitted per FEMA requirements, and we're awaiting that approval. But the bottom line is every delay forces our personnel to continue operating in unsafe and inefficient conditions. Both fire and police are doing everything that we can to answer the calls, meet state standards, and serve the community, all while adapting to a constant and changing environment. These are all the same responders who risk everything during Helene, and they're still here, and they're still showing up, and still serving, and still committed to this community. Thank you.
So second part of that to add on is, like that isn't enough. We're having a staffing crisis. We've noticed since we moved in 3 weeks, we've had 2 senior important positions resign. We believe that, of course, there's always different factors, but one of the things led me to talk to all of my staff to find out what's going on and what I can do to help increase morale. When you have a patrol staff that doesn't really have a bathroom, they don't have a place to unwind, and it's really, Ridgecrest is just not the best environment for them to go up 3 sets of stairs and then go to an emergency call. I think that is just adding to the level. So currently we have 7 vacant positions total. We had multiple retirements that happened to come at the same immediate time, and you can't forecast that always necessarily. Morale is a critical concern. Besides the morale, after meeting and getting the feedback from what is the crux, how are you feeling and why are you feeling this way? This is from them, right? So don't kill the messenger. But they feel underpaid, underappreciated, and not adequately valued. This is coming from them. This is not speculation, it's direct feedback from your workforce. If the trend continues, the risk of losing more experienced personnel is real. Talking to a couple of them, there was 2 more that I basically talked them into staying. Like, you know, this isn't the end, we're moving forward. There is hope at the end, right? But trying to give them hope. What's the elephant in the room for them? This is speaking from them, but the broader issue, we all know that, I said an elephant in the room on purpose. The Lakeview Center and the golf course are super, super important to the community. We do not disagree with that whatsoever. However, they feel with every department in the town unhoused outside of administration, that is police, fire, EMS, Parks and Recs, planning and zoning, water and sewer, and public works, they feel like that they are not being as heard as much as the citizens for the golf course and Lakeview Center. This is causing direct impacts to my staff's morale. Why does this matter? Government exists for one primary purpose, to serve and protect its citizens. When police, fire, EMS are displaced, operating inefficiently and feeling undervalued, it has real consequences. We see the effects of some of those consequences all the way back in Asheville from 2020. They were fully staffed prior to 2020, and they still cannot get past the 40% of vacancy number. So I am in real fear of that. What we're asking is just a call to action. We need decisive action. We need to move immediately. We need to prioritize safe and functional facilities. We must add compensation and try to support the morale concerns. And we reaffirm clearly and visibly that public safety is a top priority. This situation is urgent, and every delay increases the risk to both personnel and community safety. Not a great report. We apologize for having to bring it. We were asked to come and, give the reality of where we are, both with the buildings. We're getting ready to do our third move in a month and a half with moving from the PD to Ridgecrest to Gibbons Highland, which has been great to us. And again, want to echo Doug Morrow for finding that. But we know there'll be a fourth move eventually too. Recruiting, I gotta say, we're shorthanded, and how do you ask someone to come up to the Ridgecrest Conference Center and come join your staff in force when they're paid less than anybody else, and sit down in my hotel room and let me tell you how amazing it is. So this is just where we really want to place the emphasis on not just the Ridgecrest or the Lakeview Center and Golf Course, which absolutely need a priority. But it's kind of like almost looking at a whole elephant, right? And deciding which leg do you bite off first and how do you get to it. We understand it's overwhelming for the mayor, for council. Nobody asked for this to be dealt to them, right? Nobody asked for Hurricane Helene. However, this is the card and hand that we've been dealt, and this is what we're dealing with the best possible way to try to keep morale as high as we can possibly do it at the same time. However, it is exhausting, and it has been very tough.
Thank you for the report. One question I've got. Chief, you said EMS is in Swananoa, and that is because?
We couldn't find housing for them that is adequate for their ambulance. They obviously can't stay in the building, and there's no other displaced area to house them along with the ambulance.
Is there any way to make sure that we would have EMS here for first and second shift, and then let it be in Swananoa for the third shift?
That's not up to me. That's.
But I mean, is that an option?
They're really, as busy as they are, they're really not here during the day anyways. But for the short moments that they are here, as far as them just sitting in their truck, they're not going to do that.
We have reached out to EMS supervision, however, and tried to come up with a resolution, but did not find anything outside of Swananoa. We would love any help that we could get outside of that. However, we have not been successful in that resolution.
But it sounds like, though, from what I'm hearing here, is that it's a third shift issue as opposed to a first or second shift issue.
They don't have shifts. They're 24 hours, just like we are.
Yeah, and I think it's a issue, period. Them being in Swananoa for response versus here is an issue. Could be 2 or 3 minutes critical life-saving issue.
Yeah.
And we want them here, definitely. We reached out. We could use assistance. We haven't gotten any resolution.
Yeah, we tried housing them at Ridgecrest, we tried compromising with some other areas, but the issue is the security of their ambulance. Because there's critical medications, there's narcotics on there, so, and it also has to be shored up as far as electrical components to keep the ambulances equipment charged at all times.
So when I heard y'all talk about the, the Hendersonville triplex, 3-unit mobile home office building there, and that is issue with placement, movement, or with a movement, but then the cost. What is it, primarily the cost to get that moved over here?
So we got anywhere from $40,000 to $90,000 on cost. And so what we were trying to do, part of this, is we're trying to evaluate the bang for the buck for the citizens, right? And what FEMA is going to answer. We turned in a FEMA report last week. We had the engineers resubmitted the engineer report to FEMA, and we're waiting for FEMA to answer. What does that have to do with anything on their answer? It could pay for temporary housing. So if we could avoid paying $110,000 for a unit that's 5 years old and going to cost some money to fix and upgrade, compared to getting a leased unit that might be cheaper to transport here, we're trying to evaluate that based off of what FEMA's response is. We haven't received that yet.
Because that's something the council is going to need to know as a game plan, a plan A, a plan B from you guys.
Yes, sir.
So that they can make the decision as to what to do. So you think that maybe by the middle of the month, if we had to call a special meeting, that you would have some pathways?
That would be the absolute gold nugget desire, if we could do that. Of course, I can't control what and when FEMA says anything. However, we have made our due diligence with phone calls to include county emergency management to try to prioritize this.
The amount that you would you need units here? I mean, in the parking lot up there, would that, if we got the triplex up there, is that what will solve the issue?
We need 2 triple wide modulars, one for fire, one for police, and we also need a Connex box for ammo, evidence, different things that have to be secure from everybody else. We put that RFP, those came back the 20th, however, last Friday. I haven't seen those yet.
Okay. Seems though that the police, they would probably need more space than you would need, correct? Because of the housing issue.
It's about 50-50, to be
Yeah,
honest.
office space, we evaluated that, sent it out in RFP on what we would need and how we would need it.
Would that work to go ahead and get, let's just say we got a double wide and put it out at Blue Ridge for the police and put the triple wide up here for fire?
I don't think that would be adequate to work for our space. I would prefer, and this is what I'm trying to be very cautious with, is we're already moving them, we know, 4 times, right? If I move them into inadequate space that is going to cause another morale issue, I want to make sure that I make a good decision based off of FEMA's response and what the town can afford. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
And I'm going to open it up to the board just a second, but one more question then is that, our statement is that hopefully you can give us some information, because right now it's kind of a flux as to really what you need, what you want, what FEMA's going to do. So if you can tie that package together and come back to us, I think that would be a good thing. You guys, you want to make comments, ask questions?
I really appreciate your candor. I mean, usually you come and you're not quite so candid. And I really appreciate knowing what's going on in a real blunt fashion, and it's important that we know. I personally think of all the money that's on our agenda tonight that we're going to be talking about approving for different allocations. This is the most important one of all. And we need to make sure we've got the money to do that. We spent a fair amount of time a few months ago, the council did on a Saturday, crafting criteria for prioritizing expenditures, 10 items it came down to, and we voted 5-0 to adopt those criteria. And that's why we did this, so we can't spend it, we can't fund everything, right? You have to prioritize, and this is, in my opinion, the highest priority we have. If we can't keep our staff, and we can't function efficiently, and I know you've told us when you get a new police officer, we're excited, yay, but it takes a year before they are fully functioning, and to lose upper level management is tough. So that's my 2 cents. I also see somebody from Gibbons Highland Farms, and I want to say thank you. That helps a lot. Appreciate it. And Doug, of course, Doug Morrow. That would be my 2 cents. Is I'm willing to come back for a special meeting whenever we have something to vote on or evaluate.
I did want to make sure, I know we're kind of coming in here and just giving you basically the State of the Union, you know, it's I'm not giving you resolutions, but we're trying to make very smart decisions that don't impact the taxpayers as much. And so that's part of, on top of all the stress of everything that this has put on us, we're trying to make sure that we make good decisions to give you, to make, and the council, so you have the facts of the cost. And that's why we slowed down a little bit on the triple wide in Hendersonville, is we were afraid that might not be the best cost saving thing for the taxpayers if FEMA's going to cover it.
Losing police and firefighters is not cost effective either, so.
No.
Yeah.
Do we have any sense as when we might hear something from FEMA? No. and
I was saying, they just went back to work like that,
Yeah.
last week. So, but they do have all the information, and I think
we do have.
They do have support, you know, of the top people in Raleigh, but whether or not they get approved or not. Some of these units that we took bids on, you're looking at, you know, and I'm gonna think about an 18-month lease, you're probably looking at $30,000 to $40,000 a month for both units or more. So it's, yes, it
That's
is.
$250,000 over an 18-month lease.
Yeah, so it is not something to be taken lightly, and that's why we don't want to move forward on something like that. That's something FEMA should pay for. But it would be a significant burden on the town, you know, if the town had to cover that full cost. I mean, it may come to that in the end, but I don't think we're there yet. We don't want to make that kind of recommendation yet, so.
do we have a timeline with Black Belt Presbyterian Church?
So they didn't give us an absolute timeline, but they are working with us for as long as we need the help, is what their statement was.
Great. And then, do we know when we move into Gibbons?
The 20th and 21st is when we're going to move most of our stuff. Again, one thing, we'll still have to somewhat use operations out of the current system for the evidence and ammo, because we cannot bring that into that area.
Is there something we can do to temporarily relocate the ammo and the evidence?
Yes, I have put the bid out for the Connex, but however, I want to make sure that I'm making the absolute best decision possible for security of that, and that will go with the whole continuity of operations to make sure that it is not sitting somewhere that I don't feel confident that we have the security it needs.
So that could be put out at Blue Ridge, possibly out there then.
No, I wouldn't feel confident with that. I think I'd feel most confident of it being in front of the station But again, I'm waiting for all my answers before I make that final decision.
Well, as soon as you have a recommendation to us, to move forward, please don't delay in presenting anything. We're happy to, I think, all gather in for a special call meeting. And I just want to say thank you to your teams, of course, for, I'm certain that it is a challenge to get up every morning and not really know where you're going to be, or to come to work in a place that isn't fit for the work that you're doing. And I know that must be difficult, so thank you to them. And echo what Chief Parker said, that these aren't the only two departments we have right now that are in temporary housing or temporary offices, and I know that is felt across our entire staff and has impacted morale across the entire staff. So thanks to everyone who has been patient with this, and it is a high priority. Absolutely, it is the highest priority for us to resolve.
I want to echo Councilmember King and Hayes' comments, and gosh, there's a lot of community partners to be grateful for, and of course all your staff for hanging in there, and of course they're frustrated, and I think everyone hates the situation that we're in here. So as quickly as we have answers about what viable options we have, definitely we need to move forward with that, and hopefully also keep working towards our long-term solution. So we've got lots of different tracks happening all at once. So thank you for being here tonight, and of course we want your honest information, and that's what we deal with here. We deal with how things are, and we hopefully keep moving towards what we want them to be. So thank you both.
Without going into the same speeches, you have our support.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it should be top priority.
Anything else?
Anything? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is citizen comment. All right, first up is Ben Holland.
Good evening, council.
Your name, address.
Ben Holland, 15 Knoll Hill, Black Mountain.
No Hill.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no Hill, okay. Remember, you got 3 minutes,
Starting now.
starting now.
Okay. My name's Ben Holland. I'm not a local small business owner, but I'm married to one. Over the past 5 years, my wife has invested heavily into her business and in the Black Mountain community. We have recently endured a lengthy and excruciating construction inspection process, and it often felt as if we were being harassed and the goalpost was moved on us. This issue is merely a data point in a pattern this council is already aware of, and one that deserves more attention as nothing has been done. I've spent my entire professional career of 14 years in the construction industry, and I have a degree in civil engineering. I've been on site for hundreds of inspections, from commercial buildings to interstate roadways and bridges. That being said, I'm not a licensed building inspector, nor do I claim to know the North Carolina building code or in detail. That's not my point. I do, however, know what a consistent, professionally conducted inspection process looks like, and I know when something doesn't add up. My wife decided to move her business into a new building in the Black Mountain Historic District in 2024. We hired a well-respected, qualified contractor for the job, a firm with an outstanding reputation in adaptive reuse and historical renovation across the Carolinas. When the final inspection was failed 5 times, each time citing the same minor issue which had been addressed and arguably not even a violation of code, our contractor became frustrated, confused, and mostly appalled. In their professional judgment, the issues raised eventually felt more personal than technical. That assessment from an industry leader should be a concern to everyone on the council. This particular contractor has no desire to take on another project in Black Mountain. Construction was substantially complete by the end of November, and she planned to open in January. That did not happen. The repeated failures cost tens of thousands of dollars in rework and lost months of revenue during what should have been her launch period. For a small business, that kind of delay isn't just an inconvenience. It can be the difference between surviving and not. Ask Mr. Richardson. Our experience is troubling, but it pales in comparison to what Black Mountain Brewing and other businesses have faced. These are not unrelated incidents. This is a department with a documented history of inconsistent and, in some cases, improper conduct.
Ben, sorry, but you were 3 minutes.
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
We hear what you have to say.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Law and order.
Those are some hard acts to follow. Hello, everybody. I have been a citizen here for 7 years. I'm very happy to be living in Black Mountain.
And your address?
My address is 396 Avena Road. I am talking because I am a direct effect of what's going on with the fire department and the police department being displaced. Over the weekend, there was a situation. I didn't need to call 911. I didn't need to call dispatch. I needed to call the fire department. I needed to speak to them directly, but since they are displaced right now online, there is no direct phone number. So when you call, you get dispatched, and it sent out the police and it sent out the fire department. So we had double coming out of what we needed of people that are already strapped on what's going on. But it was a serious situation, and I needed the authorities to come in and help us. That being said, Pam, I really appreciate what you said about them being the most important thing. And my tax dollars are coming in here, and it is very important right now with all of our fire that we have going on. I mean, we just had one on the other side of Ridgecrest the other day. It's getting closer and closer to impacting us. And I just really want to say that of everything over the last year and a half since Helene, those are the people that have literally helped rebuild our entire community. And my question is to the council, who is in charge of contacting FEMA and our council? Who is, because there was a lot of confusion on funding. So as a citizen, my question is, who's communicating with them? How do we get information? Sorry.
The staff communicates with FEMA.
Okay, is that moving? Because I have people that I communicate with that are in other areas and social media presence. Is there ways that we as a community can help push this to help our fire department and our police department to where, as a citizen, I'm safe, I can call the direct person after hours that I need to get a hold of instead of getting the runaround and not getting in touch and not getting the situation to no fault of our fire department or our police officers? Can we help as a community? That's where I'm
Thank you,
at.
Susan. I will let it end with one thing, contact your congressman.
That is where we stop. Okay. Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Back next time. Got a paper?
David Galloway.
Hello, David Galloway, 103 Brookhaven Drive. I'm here on behalf of myself, but also all the homeowners that live on Brookhaven Drive. There's 10 of us, and I'm the HOA president. And so at your last monthly meeting, one of the agenda items you had was the dedication of our street for the town to take over maintenance. And you declined to vote on our petition. I strongly disagree with that decision and with the rationale you used to reach it. There's several points that need clarification. At first, Mr. Hicks mistakenly read our street as being 1.2 miles long, and it's actually 0.12. I think it was corrected, but I'm not sure how clear that was, so I just wanted to emphasize it. Also, the council seems to be a little confused about the fact that there is a policy in place for street dedication. It can be readily found on the town's website, and it's titled Town of Black Mountain Street Dedication Policy, and it looks like this if you search for it on the Town of Black Mountain website. We followed that policy precisely, and it resulted in the Public Works Director and the Fire Marshal both recommending acceptance of our street. And this is in sharp contrast to when the Public Works Director and Fire Marshal recommended against accepting a portion of Cheshire Village. So there is a policy in place and there's a process in place, but it seems arbitrary as to whether the council picks and chooses when they feel like following it, all while disregarding their own precedents and the findings of their own employees. Finally, when the suggestion was first brought up, the immediate reaction was the town is broke, we can't add the street, we don't have any money. I think that is a red herring because we're not asking for money. We don't need repairs. There's no reason to believe we should need repairs anytime soon. We're not in danger of erosion or landslide and do not suffer any structural damage from Helene, the worst event that's happened in any of our lifetimes. We came out unscathed. It's merely, are we equal as resident citizens as everyone else? It's more of a procedural problem, not a money problem. We're already within town city limits, so that doesn't need to be altered. Our road did not spring up overnight. Construction began in 2019, and it was always intended that we would join the town when completed. Chaos from the hurricane delayed our petition, but we've been working towards this for nearly 7 years using the existing guidelines outlined on your own town website. Now, the actions or inaction of the council are creating different classes of citizenship, and apparently all residents are no longer entitled to the same services. Our property taxes are happily collected in support of everyone else in the town, and we just want to be treated equally. We got new property valuations like everyone else in this room does, and there's going to be a line item there for Town of Black Mountain. I'm assuming it's going to be the same for everybody that lives here. And so are we full-fledged residents of Black Mountain or not? So in that spirit, I call on the council to rectify their inaction and to vote on our petition as soon as they're able.
Thank you. Appreciate it. John Richardson.
Thank you, John Richardson, 111 Church Street. Good evening. I'm here tonight to say plainly the town of Black Mountain has created this situation with Black Mountain Brewing and the rail yard, and your failure to lead has made it worse. At your request, we entered mediation in good faith. We showed up prepared to solve the problem. The town did not. There were no real concessions, no meaningful dialogue, no attempt to find common ground. What we got instead was a clear message. The town is not interested in solutions. Meanwhile, the damage continues. These are not policy decisions in a vacuum. These are actions that are destroying businesses, livelihoods, and my family's financial future. And here's what makes this even more troubling. The town's position has been described as subjective by the State Fire Marshal's office. So if this is subjective, if there is room for interpretation, then this outcome is not inevitable. It is a choice, and it is a choice being made by this town. Instead of leadership, we've seen silence. Instead of problem solving, we've seen escalation. And I want to address something directly that should concern every taxpayer in this room. In mediation, it was made clear that the town is not concerned about litigation because it has insurance to cover it. So let's be honest about what that means. It means the town can afford to push this into a lawsuit. It means Craig Justice can afford to push this into a lawsuit. It means there is no financial pressure to resolve anything, and it raises serious ethical questions about whether the town's current approach is being driven by resolution or by process that benefits no one except those billing by the hour. So I'm asking you directly, how much has been paid to outside counsel? How much has been paid to Craig Justice? And why is the town choosing to fund escalation instead of solutions? Because from where I stand, this is not responsible governance. I've spent over 25 years of my life investing in this community, building businesses, creating jobs, raising my family and helping make Black Mountain what it is today. And when Hurricane Helene hit, I did not blink an eye at opening the doors of the rail yard the next day and inviting everyone to come into the table. What makes this town special is not policy, it's people, it's small businesses, it's the risk takers who invest their lives here. And right now, those people are being failed. This is bigger than me. It's about what kind of town Black Mountain chooses to be. A town that supports its small businesses, or a town that drives them out. A town that solves problems, or a town that hides behind process while damage is done. That is unacceptable. And let me be clear, this does not get better until this council decides to lead. This is a leadership problem, and only you can fix it. And as I've always done for the last 9 months, I would love to invite anyone out to have a beer or a cup of coffee with me and talk about this face to face.
Thank you, John. John Garcia.
Hello, I'm John Garcia. I do not live in Black Mountain, but my business certainly does. I'm at 103 South Ridgeway. You can holler at it from here. Y'all have your hands full. You have a lot going on. I had some stuff to read from some people, and I don't know how beneficial that'll be. So instead, I want to use my time to encourage you all. You have some big problems to face with the police and fire, no doubt. Let's get after that. But a lot of the problems that I see around town are easily addressable. Whether they're fixable or not, or how quickly you can fix them, I don't know. I could certainly help you with all that, that's for sure. But what I want to encourage you all to do is start to get to the table. I know I've sat with many of you, I know I've talked with many of you, I know a lot of you have talked to other people in my establishment and others' establishments, and really, what I want to encourage you to do is get back to that table with these people. John and I have known each other for 20 years. I know what he's like in business. I know what he's like in his personal life. I know what he does for this community. I know what I do for this community, and so many others. The police and fire absolutely should be priority one, by the way. But I just want to encourage you guys to get after it. I mean, just take the time. And I hear people when they say they're busy. It's my favorite thing to hear from somebody. I won't be talking to you if you're not busy. I expect you to be busy. I expect that everybody I deal with to be busy, and if you're not, chances are we're not dealing with each other. That's the reality of this whole thing. So I just encourage you, get back to that table. Let's get after these things. You've got citizens out there that are willing to help. I've heard multiple citizens say they're willing to help. Lean on them. Lean on me. Go talk to John. Sit there and look at that ridiculous fence that somebody put up. Let's address the issues. Get around it. Figure out a solution. If you can't do that, you're probably in the wrong position. But I could tell you this. I'm here to help by all means. I've got plenty of big friends in big places that are also willing to help. So meet me at the table anytime. You know where to find me. I'm there just about all the time. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you.
Anna Stern.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Anna Stearns, 419 Curly Heights Road. I'm here again to ask the council to take action to resolve the situation at the rail yard and to allow removal of the chain link fence. That fence continues to create unsafe conditions for pedestrians, prevents any productive use or sale of that property, and is an eyesore that's impacting nearby businesses and our town's image. But more importantly, there is no clear legal authority supporting the town's decision to install and maintain a chain link fence on private property. 8 months later, there is still no court order authorizing this kind of extraordinary action. At a time when respect for due process and the rule of law requires our constant attention, this should concern all of us. The justification for the fence has shifted repeatedly. It was initially described as an urgent life and safety measure that required action without court order. But that same type of on-street parallel parking has been allowed It was allowed as part of the approved site plan, and the town has installed similar parking directly across the street on the railroad right-of-way. So perhaps not so dangerous after all. Before the fence was ever installed, the property owner had already taken steps to prevent parking, posting signs and placing barriers. When he replaced those barriers with landscaping boulders, he was told that those created a hazard in themselves, despite similar measures also being used on the property directly across the street to prevent parking before a lease was in place. The rationale changed again. The fence was no longer about parking. Instead, it became tied to completion of a sidewalk. But the approved site plan clearly states that the timing of the sidewalk is tied to the town's own decisions about traffic patterns on Sutton Avenue. Those decisions have not been made 3 years after the parking traffic study was completed. Under the Helene Recovery Act, the site plan, which was approved in August of 2024, remains valid until the end of 2027. There is no requirement that any component of that site plan be completed right now. Even so, the property owner agreed to move forward. He secured a contractor, requested temporary removal of the fence so that the sidewalk can be installed. He was told that the fence would be removed after the sidewalk was poured. Please tell me how that is logical. It's not workable, it's not logical, and it's not fair. This is not a complicated problem. It is a solvable one that the property owner is willing to help resolve. But it requires leadership, coordination, and a willingness to apply a little common sense. So I'm asking this council to step in, resolve the impasse, and bring this situation to a close before more time, money, and public trust are lost. Thank you.
Very good, Hannah, very good. Jennifer Galloway.
Jennifer Galloway, 103 Brookhaven Drive. As a resident of Brookhaven Drive, I was disappointed with March's town council meeting, where a request for Brookhaven Drive to be taken over by the town was pushed to a later date, requesting more time for a policy. This is confusing as a resident, as the very form we were required to fill out and sign and turn in was titled Town of Black Mountain Street Dedication Policy. This is found on our very own town website. How are residents supposed to understand the policies and procedures for the town if what is published on the website is not followed? I was also disappointed in the meeting that the review and recommendation of the Public Works and the Fire Marshal were not given more consideration in their recommendation to accept the street. I was also disappointed that this item, which was talked about in March and said that there would be more information shared in April, was not listed on the agenda for tonight from what I saw. The houses of Brookhaven Drive are tax-paying residents and we were within town limits. The neighborhood was approved for development about 7 years ago, so there's no surprise in planning about this street. This is not a gated community, but is a 0.12 mile long dead-end road. This road was paved less than 2 years ago and is in great condition. Our neighbors on Blue Ridge Assembly have used our road as overflow parking when they have had parties. So it is seen and treated by others as a public street. It's open, it's right off Blue Ridge Assembly. I'm asking as a tax-paying resident of Brookhaven Drive to put the street dedication back on the agenda and follow the published town policy and recommendation of Public Works and the Fire Marshal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that does it for public comment. Now we got communication. First thing I want to say under communication from the mayor is, if you haven't had a chance, you need to drive out to the cemetery and look at the old part of the cemetery. The phlox that is blooming out there is just exquisite. Many different colors, and it's incredible how much is out there. It is beautiful. You need to go see it. Anything from the town council?
I'll just say in regard to Brookhaven Road, we didn't didn't say no. We just, as I remember the conversation, we were on the brink of bringing new guidelines for accepting roads. And the planning director recommended or informed us that that was happening soon. So we just tabled the issue. I don't recall us voting at all or disregarding the fire marshal or any of the, or your petition. So I just wanted to clarify that as far as I know, it's still coming back to us at a future meeting. And I'm not sure why it didn't happen tonight, but I don't see the planning director here, so maybe that was part of that. But I didn't want you to leave thinking that we had turned you down. It's still very much an active petition as far as I remember.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think we did say that we would bring it forward this month, and so I'm not sure if that was just an oversight on staff's behalf, and I certainly forgot about it myself, so I do hope that we can bring forward next month.
Yeah, the new standards, it's all complete, I don't believe, so.
Okay, yeah. So you've been working on it for 7 years, so I hope another month will be okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Town attorney?
No, nothing's.
Richard?
No, sir, I don't have anything at this time.
All right, let's go to consent agenda.
All right, your consent agenda, first item is the monthly tax collector's report. The second item is a call for a public hearing on May 11th, 2026 at 6:00 p.m. to amend Chapter 1, Section 1.23 definitions, Chapter 4, Section 4.714, Table of Uses by Zoning District, and Chapter 5, Section 519, Data Processing Centers to add a definition, use, and requirements for data processing centers. You'll have a public hearing on that. There are no proposed data centers at this time. This is just to change your ordinance for potential future uses. The third item is to remove an alternate member on the Board of Adjustment. And then the next item is to appoint a member on the Board of Adjustment as an alternate. And then the last item is acceptance of grant funds with the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. We did receive a grant in the amount of $525,000 to help us purchase the sanitation equipment. Tom, that is all of the items on the consent agenda.
The newly added order, that's item 7.
Yes, right, we had the order.
Was presented to y'all. You don't have a copy of that.
All right. I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing.
Okay, first item is a public hearing to amend Chapter 1, Section 1.73, variances to remove the requirement that only signs in the historic district may seek a variance from the sign regulations. I believe we have staff here to make a brief presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So your first amendment is to Chapter 1, and that is our variance section. And currently, the way the language reads is that only signs that are in the historic district can request a variance from any of the sign regulations. That really limits any other business in our highway business district, our neighborhood mixed use district, office and industrial district from being allowed to request the same variance variance from the requirements. So basically, this is just to strike that so that anybody in any district can request a variance from the sign regulations.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? If not, motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to this, please step forward. Seeing no one rushing up, we will hear a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Just one quick comment. I know that this came about because of some requests outside of the historic district, and I'm glad we're able to be flexible in this and adapt as needed. Or I hope that we are able to do that.
Is that a motion?
I would move that we accept,
All right.
or we approve the proposed text.
Any more discussion?
And just a reminder, in each of these
Gotta
motions,
read it.
there's a statement of consistency that is being made, so you're adopting the text as well as the statement of consistency.
Would you care for me to read the motion?
Well,
No, I don't.
you don't have to, it's here in words, I just want the record to reflect you're taking
Yes.
one step, and doing two things.
Yes.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes.
Okay, your second public hearing is to amend Chapter 9, Section 9.10, Administrative Adjustment of Signage Regulations to add additional administrative adjustments for ground signs, cantilevered ground signs, and development identification signs. Again, staff is here to give you a
Good
brief
evening
presentation.
again. So your second amendment is for adding 3 different sign types to the allowable administrative adjustments that can be made by staff. The intent of that is to allow administrative adjustments of the sign standards to provide flexibility that is compatible with the town's character, to acknowledge the artistic creativity of sign makers, business owners, and individuals, to create visual harmony between the sign structure and site where the sign is located, and to enhance retail areas consistent with Elevate Black Mountain. Because there are some areas in town where we only allow a ground sign, kind of like our highway business district, there was no allowable adjustment. So this just adds the 3 different signs. So ground signs, cantilevered ground signs, and development identification signs that will be able to have those administrative adjustment flexibility.
Okay. Motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to this step forward? Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, do I hear a motion to accept this and the statement of consistency?
I'll move to accept that motion that's been put forward.
All right, any more discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, your third public hearing is on the 5-year update of your system development fees. In accordance with state statutes, you adopted system development fees several years ago. The statutes do require that you update that every 5 years. You hired the firm of McGill Associates to complete the 5-year update. You've had a draft of that update for several months now. It's been available for public inspection. I don't think we got any comments back on that. So your action this evening is to hold a public hearing on the proposed update. And we have Dale Shepherd here with McGill Associates. I think y'all met him last month or a couple of months. We aren't asking for any action this evening. This will probably be part of your budget, discussions as we move forward, but you are required to hold a public hearing, so.
Okay, before we get into questions, we'll go ahead and have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to this step forward? Not hearing anything, motion to close?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we need to get a motion to go ahead and adopt this along with the statement of consistency.
We don't have any action for you tonight, we just need to hold. The public hearing was the only action required.
So you're not asking, it says here, or the town council can adopt.
So you can
a new
adopt,
system.
we're gonna wait until you start your budget discussions, we'll bring back.
Okay, I've just got some questions. If you could help me out with some of the answers, will you? Go ahead, come on. But we got a water system, and we're trying to look at, a lot of this has to do with the water, the system development. On it talks about additional capacity is planned to be constructed in 2029.
Yes.
Can you tell me where?
It is upsize of the line coming from your water supply in Asheville to then increase the capacity of your system.
Okay, so nothing, no new wells here.
No.
Nothing on that we're going to produce.
Right.
It's just bigger access to the system.
Yes, your current connection, they're upsizing that. You're planning to upsize that line
Okay.
in order to meet the capacity demands you need in the future to support development.
In the past, and this is years ago, when I was first on the board, there was talk of developing an East Buncombe Water District. Has this been considered in some of the stuff that I didn't see anything about that?
No, this is taken directly from your capital improvements plan that has that need for that additional capacity through that line upsizing in it.
Okay, then what do you suggest for us to be looking, because there may be a time to where we may be building a bigger line, but if we don't have any water to put in that line from the city of Asheville that they decline, we're up the creek. And so by setting up an East Buncombe Water District, we would then go ahead and be able to, with the expense of the new bonds, in order to build a processing treatment plant the same way that the city of Asheville has out at North Point.
That would be a possibility.
But that's, that's down the road, but that's,
right.
Is there any recommendations from y'all about that?
Well, the study can only take items that have been identified that we can use then in the calculation to make them eligible to set the fee. So the next step in the process, what I'm hearing is that we need to do some master planning to then understand the feasibility and the affordability and the reality of bringing that to pass for that purpose to expand capacity.
Is that possible for y'all to submit something like that?
Absolutely.
We're not talking about a thick study.
No, absolutely.
Just a couple of pages to guide us in the next, and whatever board will be here for the next 10, 15 years as to what maybe that we need to be thinking about, so that in 20 years, we would have our own system.
Absolutely. Be happy to do that.
All right. One other thing here, I'm talking about, when it says Black Mountain's water system has 13% of its capacity available to provide service to new development, is that just because of the size of the present line that we have?
Yes. There's two components of the study. One is the buy-in value, which is how much capacity do you have today that's available and what is it worth, is how you calculate your fee. So if you have no capacity available, then you can't really set a fee because you have no capacity. So that's simply saying that there is capacity today that is available, and we can assign a value to that to then calculate a fee.
I think that's the only questions I've got. Anybody else got any questions? Well, since we're not adopting anything, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And you open the public hearing.
We did, yeah.
All right, next we've got second citizen comments. Didn't see anybody signing up, so we will then proceed on to unfinished business.
Okay, next item is the bids for the golf cart bridges. Again, we revised the project, went back out for bids. The bids range from $169,000 to $446,000 to $420,000. So the action we are asking council for this evening is to reject those bids. We still think we need to find cheaper alternatives.
All right. You've heard this unfinished. Do we have a motion to either accept or to reject the bids?
I'll move that the bids be rejected.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, so what happens with this process next? What can we expect to be discussing as we go?
Don, we're trying to find somebody that will build it cheaper. We're also exploring the option of some bridges that are already built that'll just be laid in.
Like a prefab
Yeah.
that could be applied.
Yeah. But, since we've gone through 3 bids and it's not a FEMA project anymore, I think it gives us a lot more flexibility to, find some cheaper alternatives. So we're still working on that, still trying to explore some options.
Have we had any luck with some of the local folks, whether Eddie Frizzell or Sammy Bird or David from Swananoa, Myers, that have built bridges?
Well, we talked to a couple of those. Chad, you want to kind of update on where we're on the bridge? Chad's working on that, so.
Yeah, please come on up. I mean, this is something that just keeps going on and on and on. It's the feeling of the mayor that we got to get this thing resolved. We got to get this golf course open.
With the bid process, there's variables to bidders, and you see numbers put into those bids as such. They got to tack on engineering, but they're a construction company, and they've got, the unknown of pulling the bridge apart, and they also need to make money. The lowest option that we have right now is a prefab bridge that would be assembled and dropped in. It comes ready to drop in. It's 2 sections, 30 foot long and 4 feet wide. And those 2 bridges together would come in substantially under. What we'll have to do is add engineering and then abutment reinforcement, probably. More so on one bridge than on the other. But that would be a very quick, very significantly cheaper process.
Is there any way that we could go ahead and get with one of these folks that I'm speaking about and have them go out there, look at these bridges, and then pay the money to go ahead and get the boards taken off so that now you're looking down at 2 abutments, 2 I-beams, and to see what has to be done to reinforce that foundation, and then get these guys to say, okay, dig it out to whatever needs to be done. Maybe methodological engineering could do it, and say, this is what you need to do, A, B, C, D. And let's get those holes dug, let's get that concrete poured in there, reinforce those abutments, and then put new wood back on the I-beams, and we would accomplish the bridges. What am I missing here? I'm just lost as to why we can't get this done.
I think it's been a process and procedure and going out to bid and having to try and find someone that wanted to do a turnkey versus us being able to piecemeal it out a little bit more.
And so that's what's keeping maybe some local folks from putting in bids when we've had these open? Is that I'm asking you to guess.
Yeah,
but
that would be kind of a guess. I mean,
Okay.
you've seen the cost of bridges since Helene hit more than double across western North Carolina because
it's so hard to swallow that.
it's extremely hard to swallow. And stick-built, some want to stick-build it, some want to have a drop-in bridge. The lowest quote that I'll tell you, the lowest quote that I have, that doesn't include delivery, for 8 foot wide, 30 foot long drop-in bridges is $14,000 a bridge.
14,000, is that?
Correct.
And you had earlier said 4 feet wide, and you just said.
It's 2 sections, so but it's, the total cost is $14,000 a bridge. That obviously doesn't include grading and engineering.
That's just the material, that's
just the materials, a bridge that
yeah.
you would set on top of those I-beams, and you're good to go as soon as you clean the ramp getting to it. So, again, I need to understand the procedure, because I'm used to being on the private side, not the government side.
Well, I know that this is, what I've been speaking about is similar to the gentleman, the friends of Richard that he brought down from North Wilkesboro, have been talking about. So, if we could just get an engineer to come out there and look at that, what?
I mean, we have, right? I mean, an engineer has come out and looked at it, is that correct?
No,
No, I don't think we've
No,
done
we-
it.
We got
it was-
to that's
We-
what
The
we were told
engineer
about the
was
past.
included in the bid, so everybody that bid it would have had to get their own engineer to put something together, and those fees ranged substantially on the bid package, understandably.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is because these bridges are, they have to be safe. We're sending people
Correct.
across them, so they need to be safe. Is that gonna be required of us then to move forward to have engineering, whether we're paying for it or we're including that in the bid?
Yes.
If you go, you know, if the bridge is gonna be constructed, it has to be signed off by a licensed engineer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, these bids we've taken so far, they are providing their own, engineer. So, I mean, we're willing to work with just about anybody at this point. Now, if we got local contractors that can do it, or, you know, or.
So would it be an option for
Project.
us to pay for engineering
Yes.
and then bid out based on the engineering report that we received?
We don't even need to bid it out, yeah.
We don't have to bid it out. We could just
We'll
select
hire an
someone.
You take informal bids
After
now, and
we're-
if you can't get but one, you can move
Yeah.
forward with a single bid, if we had somebody willing to do the work, and, you know, was, you know, and the town was able to get the drawing stamped by the engineer.
Which I think is the proposal further down the agenda, right, is to
Yeah.
allow you to be able to
Yes.
move forward
Yes.
with that sort of.
If we got one bid now, we can move forward, I mean, we don't have to go back, you know, have forever ties bids, I mean, we've done it twice, so I think we can negotiate with a single contractor if we had one that's interested in doing the work. Now, we had one, we got a quote from, but when it came time to bid, he didn't bid, but when you have formal bid processes, it's a lot more complicated, there's more costs, there's more regulations they have to follow. When you're dealing with that kind of stuff, they just don't want to deal with it. But I think now we're at the point, I think,
We can
you know,
split
we
it
can
up, it'll be quick.
negotiate with a local contractor to get it done, you know, if we can find one to do it, so.
Because we had on the back nine, we had not one but two bridges fixed and replaced. One was in the neighborhood of $30-some thousand, $34,000, I think is what Jamie told me. We got that one done. We got the one there on the number 10 fairway, that was done for $20-some thousand. And, I mean, we're just losing thousands and thousands of dollars.
You spend 18 months messing with FEMA to find that.
Yeah, now we're
Yeah,
done with
we'll do it.
FEMA. If we just do this ourselves,
Yeah.
I mean, just from just the business standpoint of it, we need to get the golf course open, even if it costs us $50,000. Let's get these two bridges fixed and get this golf course open. Hopefully, when we get down onto the agenda and start talking about bridges, maybe we'll have a motion and can instruct Richard to do that. Okay,
Thank you, Chad.
thank you. All right. So, we voted on rejecting, did we?
We
had the motion.
We had the motion, but we haven't voted.
Okay. Now, all right, all in favor of rejecting the bids?
Aye.
Okay, that's done. All right. New business.
I would like to see if we could have our audit be moved to the top of new business.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, we got to vote on this, it's going to be unanimous. So, go ahead. Make a motion.
I would like to move that we shift item, 11N. N?
N.
No, M, because we cut that other one. Presentation of the town audit to be 11A.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all
Can
right.
we have a brief recess, perhaps?
Yes. You want to do it right now?
A brief recess. Archie's stepping down, I thought.
We can keep going.
Well, he's going to come back. I was thinking about doing a brief recess. Does everybody want to recess right now? Or do we need to wait?
I would rather just keep. Yeah, just keep. Yeah,
Okay,
let's
all right,
go.
let's keep going. All right. And who do we have for the presentation? From Gould Killian?
Maybe we should have asked if you wanted to go first in the new business, but I presume you might not want to have a super late night here.
It's April 13th, and I've got a stack of tax returns on that.
I can only imagine.
It will be a super late night, maybe not here.
Well, I understand that you just came from Spruce Pine to do that.
Spindale,
There's the
yes,
same
ma'am.
thing, so
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us tonight.
No, thank you for having me. So we have, good evening. My name's Travis Keever with Gould Killian CPA. We've been your auditor for a number of years now, and we always appreciate being able to work with the town, and appreciate you guys letting me be here tonight, and also being accommodating with the schedule. We talked about it, had 2 different meetings tonight. This was a challenging year to get through with some of the staffing changes that have taken place, starting the audit with 1 set of staff and ending it with a totally different set of staff. So it's a little bit challenging, but we appreciate everybody's help. Special thanks to Bronwyn Burleson, who's of course your contract CPA that works. She really stepped in after Tammy left to sort of provide some top line direction. And then of course Laurel, who works in the finance office, really stepped up in a big way for us, just kind of providing all the documentation, doing a lot more than we've ever asked her to do. And then, of course, Richard coming on board at the end. So it was kind of a team effort, but we got through it. It was late, but it could have been a lot later. So all in all, it was a pretty good year. So I'm going to be brief tonight. I'm going to talk about mainly the opinions that we issue as part of the town's ACFR. There's 4 opinions in total. The first one is on the financial statements themselves. We issued an unmodified opinion on the town's financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. This means that we believe the financial statements of the town are fairly stated in accordance with GAAP. It's also known as a clean opinion. Of course, that's what everybody wants when they have an audit. Now, we are also required by government auditing standards to issue a report on the town's internal controls over financial reporting and its compliance with laws and regulations that are significant to financial reporting. Now, keep in mind, this is not a full internal control audit or a full compliance audit. Rather, we assess the town's controls and compliance over the controls that are the most impactful to the numbers on the financial statements. This is actually where the majority of our audit work takes place. We do this assessment in a number of ways. We test a sample of expenditures to make sure that PO policies are followed, that necessary approvals are obtained, and the budgetary authority exists for the town's expenditures. We test a sample of payroll expenditures to make sure that the folks being paid are actually employees of the town and that they're being paid for hours that their supervisor approved at a rate consistent with the approved pay rate in their personnel file. And we also review numerous aspects of the town's year-end and month-end close process, such as bank reconciliations to ensure that documentary evidence exists to support the amounts in the general ledger. And then we review the requirements and provisions of the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act to make sure that the town's in compliance with that. That's the primary act of the state that governs local government finance. So the result of all this work is that we noted no material weaknesses in internal control and no instances of reportable noncompliance with laws and regulations. So kind of at a top line level, clean audit, no internal control findings, no compliance findings. So at that level, that's about as good a report as I can give. We were also required this year to report separately on the federal and state grant expenditures of the town. Now, this is known as a single audit. We have to perform a single audit if the state and federal grant programs meet certain thresholds, which the town did this year, primarily due to the cleanup from Hurricane Helene. We issued an unmodified opinion on compliance with the key terms of the federal and state funding, and we also reported no internal control issues related to either one of those. So that's also a clean opinion and a clean compliance opinion related to the single audit. The 2 programs that we single audited or took a deep dive on were, of course, FEMA expenditures that were about $968,000 roughly. The FEMA expenditures, and then of course the town also obtained a state cash flow loan from the Department of State Treasurer for about $705,000. That also had what they call continuing compliance requirements. They treated it kind of like a grant for audit purposes. So the LGC started this program a few years ago called Financial Performance Indicators of Concern. At the end of the audit, I enter a lot of the town's information into a benchmarking worksheet, and anything that kind of comes back outside of the LGC's tolerance I'm required to cover in a public meeting. We had 4 of those for this year. The first one, your fund balance available as a percentage of expenditures in the general fund fell below the 25% threshold. 25% is the LDC's recommended threshold for units this size, primarily based on budget is how they kind of lay that out. They want 25% for you guys, which is essentially keeping 3 months worth of expenditures. In fund balance, it fell down to about 20% this year. That's primarily due to general fund expenditures at the department level stayed relatively flat, but the general fund did transfer a decent amount of money out to the disaster relief funds.
Just to be clear, this reflects June 30, 2025,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
Yeah.
So it's not to be construed as the current
Correct,
status.
yeah, this is a point in time as of 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point in time, the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures fell down to 20%, largely because of the funding that had to happen with the disaster relief efforts. Then there was also a net loss in the water fund, excluding depreciation and including debt service. That's the way they've got that worded is kind of a dorky accounting way of saying they want to know if the water fund had positive or negative cash flow for the year. So basically you take the net income in the water fund, you add back depreciation, which is a non-cash item, and then you subtract back out debt principal, which is not an expense, but it takes cash. And the water fund, under that measure, lost about $190,000. Again, that's primarily due to the effects of Helene, which of course happened during the year that was under audit. Revenue was down.
Could you tell us what pages that's on?
Let's see. Water fund schedule. 25.
Page 25.
Yeah, the water fund schedule. Again, I imagine largely as a result of the water system being offline for several weeks after the hurricane, revenues were down in a decent amount of expenditures for repairs and that sort of thing. So the revenue's down, expenditures up.
So then if
have
you
a loss
have,
in the fund.
when you were looking at these, were you able to look at that to see as the monthly expenses? Because, you know, we were buying all our water at first from the city of Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
And then supposedly we came back online with our water, which should have knocked that down back in back in November, December.
Yeah,
But then it was always till March, we were still purchasing water. So is that $190,000 reflective of that time period in there? Of those 5 months? If we'd have been on our own water, we could have broken even?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be prepared to say that without doing the math, but any money that you purchase from the city of Asheville would be included in that $190,000 loss. So what the mix is there, buying it from them versus producing their own versus when the water system was actually capable, I'm honestly not familiar enough with all that to be able to answer that, but I'm sure staff could dig into that and let you know. I do know that water purchases obviously were up a good amount for the year.
As well as repairs to the system.
As well as
Yeah.
repairs, yeah, correct. We also had one ordinance level budget violation. It was the Lake Tomahawk Dam project, which closed out in FY '25. It was over budget by around $19,000. It looked like a final invoice that came in. Previous finance director just kind of neglected to put through a final project ordinance amendment. And then, of course, the audit submission date, the LGC wanted the audit in by February 12th, which is kind of a weird deadline this year, but that's what they made it. We got it in right around the 1st of March, so it was a couple of weeks after the deadline. But again, considering everything that went on, it could have been a lot worse than that. So I'm not too worried about that one. We'll get back on track with the timing this year. So that just kind of is what it is. Kind of a brief audit summary of kind of some top line financial data. You have 8 governmental funds in your ACFR that includes the general fund. That's total assets of $9.5 million, total revenues of just shy of 11, and total expenses of also just shy of 11. 10.9 in revenue, 10.8 in expenditures. You only have one proprietary fund this year. The golf course was moved into the general fund for FY '25, so the only proprietary fund is the water and sewer fund. It has assets of $11.7 million with total revenues of $2.3 and total expenses of $2.8 for FY It's a pie chart showing a summary of your general fund revenues. Like most other municipalities in the state, ad valorem taxes is where half or a little bit more of your revenue comes from. For you guys, it's 5.7 million, or about 52%. The next largest would be the local option sales tax. Again, like most other units, it's about 2.5 million. So between those two, that's about 75% of general government revenues. That's consistent with almost every municipality we go to. That's where the money comes from. Bar chart kind of showing year over year. As you can see from that, revenues were relatively flat year over year. Same pie chart, just on the expenditure side of things. The public safety grouping is kind of the big ticket item there, again, like most other municipalities. Of course, in Black Mountain, this is the general fund public safety, so that only includes the police department. Of course, Buncombe County requires the fire department to be accounted for in its own fund. And then, of course, you've got the streets, public works, and sanitation are both sizable departments. Culture and rec this year, the green triangle is a 1.8 million, which is a pretty big increase percentage-wise over the last few years. And of course, that's, like I mentioned, the golf course operations are included in that triangle this year. And that's also reflected on the bar chart. You can see the one kind of significant change is in culture and rec, and that's almost exclusively due to the golf course operations.
And so that, sorry, I talked over you. But the golf course ended up getting combined with Parks and Rec for the purpose of these categories here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It previously was accounted for in its own fund. It's now just kind of lumped into the general.
And of course, now it begs the question at this point, why do you recommend that we continue on? Because when you first started doing us, fire department was included in the expenditure, and the golf was outside.
Right.
Now we've done this flip. Is there any particular reason why we need to remain that way?
The fire department fund's actually a requirement of the county. Buncombe County requires that from all its municipalities. That's if I'm not mistaken, a condition of the service contract that you guys signed with them for the non-incorporated areas. Of course, the town can do whatever it wants to, since you do have a contract with Buncombe County to provide fire service to unincorporated areas. That's a provision of that contract, that you account for the fire department operations separately. Regarding the golf course, moving it into the general fund just gives the town a little bit more flexibility to make capital improvements, repairs, that sort of thing. When it's in an enterprise fund, it's supposed to be self-sustaining, for lack of a better word. So you're limited to the amount that of money you could take from the general fund and use for golf course improvements, for that matter. Or also, if the golf course started turning a big profit one day, and you wanted to use that for other things with it in the general fund, you got the flexibility to do that.
Because it was profitable before the hurricane.
Right. Yeah.
But predominantly not. I mean, it was the year before, maybe broke even the year before that, but before that it had lost money. And I believe it was your recommendation to move it into the general fund last year.
Yeah, for a lot of those reasons.
And when we talk about capital projects, we're talking about multi-year. I mean, that is different than the yearly expenditures. So. Yeah,
well, and it's even with the golf course, even if you needed to finance a new golf cart purchase or something like that, with it being in the golf course fund, kind of your only option is to take out debt for that, because the golf course didn't have enough cash on its own to do that, right? So with it in the general fund, you've got a little more flexibility as to the funding source. So this next chart shows kind of the town's fund balance versus fund balance available over the last 5 years. The difference in those two, fund balance, which is the blue bar, is basically the town's assets minus its liabilities in the general fund. That's just what this relates to. So it's assets minus liabilities, whatever's left is your fund balance. The available fund balance is basically the cash on hand at June 30th minus your accounts payable. So when you take the cash you got in the bank, pay your current obligations with it, whatever's left, the LGC says that's your available fund balance. That's what they say is available for the board to appropriate. And so they prefer that measure for evaluating kind of your fiscal health as opposed to overall fund balance. And you can see both of those decrease. The general fund was down about 2.8 million this year, again, primarily due to transfers out to the kind of disaster relief funds. So not a big surprise to see those go down.
If we can go back there real quick, is that percentage of available versus total, is that pretty standard Or LP?
Yeah, so I mean, where you guys were prior to FY '25, you were sort of right.
Okay.
Right, kind of in the, you mean like the difference?
The difference, yeah, I mean, obviously, our total fund balance has dropped significantly to a.
Yeah, well, you see where they've kind of moved up and down pretty consistently with each other, so.
That proportion
Yeah,
seems to stay fairly.
the difference is kind of the same. The difference really amounts to, at June 30th every year, you guys have certain amounts that are like uncollected property taxes. You've got 3 months worth of sales tax dollars that haven't come in yet. That's essentially what makes up that difference. The state says you don't have that money yet at June 30th, so you guys can't appropriate it. That's essentially what they're saying. So that's really the difference there. They kind of limit the on the available fund balance, how they limit the assets you get to take into account, really to just cash. But yeah, it's the spread between the two. You're pretty consistent with everything else I see. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
The second one, this is a line chart that just kind of shows that fund balance available, the gray bar from the previous slide, as a percentage of the net general fund expenditures. The municipal average is about 60%. It fluctuates a little bit every year. I just put it on there as a straight line so you can see it averages out right around 60% every year. Of course, you guys have kind of been on both sides of that line. Took a little bit of a dip this year. Without those massive transfers out in FY '26, that number will just kind of naturally come back up with everything else being the same. And I think, my last slide, it's just a enterprise fund summary year over year. So of course, this is just the water and sewer fund. Working capital, which is current assets minus current liabilities, stayed relatively similar, ticked down just a little bit. Unrestricted net position, which would be kind of the water fund's equivalent of fund balance, went down about $250,000. It's a little over $1 million now. Your operating income, which would be kind of your P&L income if you were a private business, was a loss of $410,000. You had revenues of $2.3 million, which were down just a little bit, again, likely due to the system being offline for a few weeks. Cash flows from operating activities, the water system generated $557,000 in cash flow from operations in FY '24. That was down to $185,000 in '25. So that's kind of the effect of the storm on the overall cash flow, and again, had an overall decrease in cash of about $60,000 during the year, which is kind of take your operations, you pay some debt, you do some capital improvements, and that kind of factors into the overall decrease in cash. And that is about all I had. And we appreciate working with you guys as always, and I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has any.
Anybody got any questions?
I know this was a challenging year with a lot of turnover and changes in staff, so I appreciate your dedication to getting this submitted as quickly as possible.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Have you got in here somewhere where you know, or since July 1st, we've added more loans? What I'm trying to get at is, our obligations. We got certain debt that we had a long time, but then we've gone ahead and borrowed money for both in-town stuff, but also for repairs from Hurricane Helene.
Right.
Are you finding any of that now? I mean, is there a way to get a chart on that? I basically don't have a feel for how much that we owe, how much that we're obligated for, how much on monthly that we're gonna have to come up with.
So our report would have information on debt that was owed as of June 30th of last year. Of course, that's a little bit of an out-of-date number this year, especially if you got new borrowings, so that'd have to come from staff.
Okay, so you don't get involved with the figures up until?
My cutoff's kind of June, is kind of June 30, 2025. If there were anything happened that were unusual for town operations, things of that nature, we would want to know about it and want to disclose it. But, normal kind of.
So normally you start looking at it at the beginning of the fiscal year and then have to submit this sometime in September?
We typically submit around November. Somewhere in there, yeah. So usually you got a June 30 cutoff, we submit it around November. But again, outside of things that would happen that were sort of outside the normal course of operations of the town, we don't get involved in a whole lot that happens in the new fiscal year. We'll take a look at that.
So when that time frame comes, is that going to be something that you would do, or we have to request of you to make sure that that's on some pages that's simple?
No, we have a debt schedule in every financial statement that we issue. There'll be a kind of by debt issuance. It'll be on there. It'll say you've got a debt for this much that you took out at this time. This is when it should be paid off. This is the annual payment it requires, and here's the balance. Have that for every single debt the town has. It's in these statements up through June 30. When we do our next audit, you'll have anything new that you took out this year. You'll have information on that. Does that answer your question?
I don't have the figures, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see the figures. That's what I'd like to see. Anybody got anything else? So we need to, there a motion to accept the report?
Move to accept, that council accepts the Town of Black Mountain FY '25 audit.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Travis.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, Richard.
All right, moving back to new business. It's pool season, and we're in the process of trying to hire staff. The Parks and Recreation staff wants to talk to you about adjusting the salaries of the pool staff. As you know, just about everybody's had to increase salaries. You make more money at McDonald's than you can working the pool. So at this time, I'll turn it over to the staff.
Go ahead.
I'm Colin, I'm with Parks and Rec.
I'm Beth, I'm the pool manager.
I believe that you guys have one of these. I was just trying to compete with other entities around us as far as McDowell County, Ridgecrest, other places with pools and lakes that will need lifeguards. So Beth worked up the raises, and I've tried to figure out how much of the increase it would be for the full season, and it looks like it's right around close to 9,000 extra, but I also know that has other money situations, so just figured this is our proposal.
Have you taken a look at the fee schedules too for swimming? Like usually we get a proposal around that.
Yeah, we did not change any of the fee schedules. The fees are pretty comparable to what other places have available. And, you know, I had originally proposed a few extra things to do inside of the pool, renting the pergola during the day, things like that, but that didn't seem to want to be a topic of conversation. So at this point in time, you know, this is what we got.
We're going to stick with the rates we had this previous year.
Yes, ma'am.
And the council can always change that as you get into your budget discussions.
I believe right now it's, what is it, $4 for residents, $5 for non-residents for entry.
Well, sounds like that's a conversation for another day, but nobody's swimming if we don't have lifeguards.
That's right.
Or they're
No one
down
should
the
be
mountain and
swimming.
make down county. You're right.
I appreciate all the context that, you know, was shared in putting this together so we can really understand what y'all are looking at and the competitive nature of these jobs, so.
And just so you know, this staff, 90% of this staff, and they have for many years, they provide a humongous service to the entire community, not just in Swannanoa or Black Mountain, but also to the surrounding counties, all the way into Asheville. 90% of these kids are swim team kids, and they do donate a hefty amount of time to teaching other people how to swim and working in the community outside of even just this, you know, doing volunteer work and things of those natures for the town. So if you could take that into consideration too.
And Beth also she's the head of the swim team and volunteers a heck of a lot of time for the swim team. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Beth running around that pool day and night, all summer long. And it's, you know, it is not only an asset to the community, to the kids and the families in the community, but I mean, it's a business, and we have to be able to pay staff to work there and attract lifeguards. I know that for many years it's been hard to recruit lifeguards, not just here but everywhere, I believe, or at least that's what I've been told. So whatever we can do to be competitive in that, and also to pay a competitive salary to the pool manager. I noticed that the concession staff rate is incredibly low. Do you think that that's adequate for?
Well, that is, and I'm trying to think of the eloquent way to say this. You're 14 years old. If you are not allowed to work concessions or the gate beyond the year of 14, because then hormones change, and then you don't need to be staring at a bunch of people in a bathing suit beyond the age of 14 when the hormones have changed. That's as nicely as I can put it. So there's not a whole lot of jobs that you can choose at 14, but they understand that it's a revolving door beyond that age. Then you must move on to a lifeguard, or you must move on to another job somewhere else. But this is your start. We will give you a recommendation letter saying that you've learned some customer service skills, you've learned mathematical skills, you know, you've properly learned how to swirly and clean a toilet and have customer service interaction. I mean, I'm not even playing. You'd be amazed how many of them they don't know. They,
Well, that's a community service in itself. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, yeah, and it's not that I don't think that they deserve more money, but at the same time, they're 14. They don't have a whole lot of opportunities for anything else. So this is their start, and I believe that we're helping teach them. This is how you start out at the bottom, and this is how you grow.
Do you think we can have some tournaments this year? They don't call them tournaments, they call them swim meets.
Swim meets. I have 3 home swim meets. Yes, they're already set up. I'm not doing quite as many this year because of all the things that we do have going on between the golf course and Lakeview. And while I do not think that we had a tremendous amount of damage at the pool from the hurricane, we did have to work on the roof and things like that. There's some things going on in the pump room that, were underlying that we doctored a little bit, and are now coming to fruition, and it scares me to, you know, invite a few hundred people to the pool and run it. So we will do 3 home ones. So it'll be loud 3 nights this week. I mean, this summer. Yeah, only 3 though. I apologize in advance.
Well, if you are comfortable with these proposed rates, then I would move that we accept them. And as far as other expenses go and other things that are improvements that need to be made to the pool, I would hope that we can consider those in the budget season this year, because it is such an asset to the town.
We do have tens of thousands of people that come through that door every single season. You know, from not just here in our community, but, you know, they come from all over, and we've worked very hard to create a name for ourselves. And other than the brand new pool that just got bought or built that's in Asheville, the majority of people that you speak to speak highly of our pool, the cleanliness of our pool, and the friendliness and the attentiveness of our staff.
Coach Beth, do you know, I know last summer some of the county pools were still closed.
Yeah, they were.
Or the Asheville pools maybe. Do you know if things
We're always the longest staying open pool.
Okay. They had closed it. They didn't reopen last summer after Helene.
Yes, Rec Park will not be opening. There's a couple that will not be reopening.
Okay.
But Rec Park is one of them that won't reopen
So
for
we
a
may
long
continue
time.
to draw in more people from.
We do. We do draw in. And we did have to stiffen up on our guidelines because The behaviors were a little different coming from other areas because the expectations at their facilities were not quite the expectations that I have at mine. So you have swimmers and you have survivors, and those people are just what we call survivors. So, you know, we had to, I guess, stricken some of the guidelines that we had, and we've really worked hard on teaching even some of those kids that come from out of the county or further up in the county, you know, how to swim and work with them. A lot of my guards have. So it's been really exciting, but we get a lot from those pools. Yeah, we probably had the biggest last year.
Increase.
Yeah, we had the biggest increase in traffic through the door than we'd had in quite a few years.
Well, I know you do a good job.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
It's changed a
you.
little bit. Since I was a lifeguard there, I was the head lifeguard, then I was the manager for several years, so I understand what you're going through.
Well, I've been with you guys since 2015. I've run the team since 2013.
Wow, excellent,
So,
excellent.
oh, you're welcome.
Did I hear a motion from you?
You did.
All right. Any more discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Okay, next item is the award of the bid for the Hilltop Road Phase 2 construction project. We are asking that you award that bid to CRW Land Services LLC. Their total cost is $323,022.53. You currently have this project funded through your, I believe, capital grant that you got from the state. Once the project is finished, FEMA will reimburse us on that cost, and that capital grant can be used again for something else. We do have it funded 100% right now, so we are asking that you award that bid to CRW Land Services in the amount of $323,022.53.
It's been forever coming, but at least it's finally here. So, do I hear a motion to accept this?
I'm happy to make that motion. I do have a couple of questions around timeline. Do we know anticipated start?
Once you award the bid, it'll probably take them, 30 to 45 days to get their bids, get the contracts signed and all that. So I'm hoping they will be there sometime in the middle of May, maybe early June at the latest.
And this would completely finish the road project?
Yep.
The road rebuild. And so we have we budgeted 600,000. The bid came in at 323,000. Will that go ahead and free up some of that other funds to begin other projects, or?
Once you get your funds reimbursed from FEMA, then that money could be used for something else.
How much money have we put into this project already from our money? Not from the state, but from our money that we've put in, that we've had to pull out of fund balance?
First night, it was from the road fund, it wasn't the fund balance, but it was 300,000 that first allocation, I remember that.
Okay, so.
Then you purchase land,
Okay.
Some problem.
So we're gonna go ahead and get from
Upfront
FEMA, we
engineering
will
costs.
get this amount of money back,
And the cost of the land.
and the
engineering.
300 that we had pulled, or however much of the 300.
Yes, we should.
So did we go ahead and use, how much of the 300 have we used?
I'm not totally sure, because you paid for land out of that money. You've also been, paying for
Got
the
the engineers.
costs and all that, so you probably used just about all of it.
Right, so that's something that we can be looking forward to putting back into funding some other projects. Good.
And if I remember correctly, this project has already been approved by FEMA. Once it's done and completed, those funds should come back fairly
Yeah, they
quickly.
should pay 100% of the cost.
All right. And that was a motion you made?
Yes, I would move to approve the resolution awarding CRW Land Services with the contract for Hilltop Road.
All right. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Done.
Go have a beverage, Mr. DeWitt.
Yeah,
Celebrate.
Okay, next item is a consideration of a capital project ordinance for the Fairway Drive Tomahawk Avenue Stormwater project. That project's under construction. It was funded through a $75,000 grant from Buncombe County that you got last year, and the balance comes from your stormwater fund, so it's about 50-50 in the cost of the town. It's actually under construction and should be finished within the next few weeks and everything. So this capital projects ordinance covers that cost.
I was over there, of course, I've been over to that section during many storms, and it seems cascading water coming down Fairway off of number 6 Fairway, collecting into the pipes can't handle them, and so it's coming across, jumping onto the green, and then getting down into the front part of that number 5. When you pull down in there, right beside the 5 green, going to those 2 buildings that the city of Asheville has for their pump station of water, that pipe that is underneath that culvert there is a 15-inch culvert. Culvert that comes from Fairway Drive underneath Tomahawk there is an 18-inch culvert. And so are we going to be increasing the size of these so that we can go ahead and?
I'm not sure that's part of the.
That's not a part of this project in particular.
So
You
we're
do it,
really-
but it's an additional cost. Over and above this project, but that's not part of this project.
So
Well,
we're not
it does
gonna
sound like
do-
something to look into.
So we're not, I mean, otherwise, we're ended up with the front part of number 5. If you're standing on the green looking out into the fairway on the left side is a bog. Not now, because we're in the drought. But when it gets a lot of rain, it is a bog because this ditch, this culvert can't handle that. So where can we go so that, you can't do it right now, it sounds like, but when can we, how can we address that to get that resolved?
We could ask for a change order from the contractor who is currently working there now, if he'd be willing to change that.
I would hope that you would, because
This is an additional cost, I mean, we're going to spend more money.
I think we need to stick with this one right now, and I hear you that it's an important thing, but we've got so many items that need our attention right now.
Well, but I mean, just asking the gentleman is not a problem, just ask him how much that it would be.
Could we get some more information for our next meeting?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
At
Because
some
they-
point, we have to move away from the golf course and talk about some of these other things.
Well, but when
This
you've done a
project,
problem,
has already cost you additional money. We found a drainage pipe that apparently is being fed by a spring, which was not on the maps, nobody knew was there, so that's gotta be fixed. There's a huge oak tree that might have to be cut down because of this project, so we're, it's more than what we had originally anticipated.
so we're gonna have some budget amendments anyway for this, cost overruns.
But that 143 covers everything.
Those are included in that 143 number.
All right,
When we started, it was about 115, now it's up to 143, so.
And that's after working with the contractor and with our own departments to figure out what can be done in-house and what can be changed to make the most efficient use of town funds.
obviously, we're gonna make a motion, we hear a motion here in a minute to do this, but I would hope maybe one of you two
Yeah, we'll
would
get a price
ask the
on that.
contractor and say, what would it be to put in a 20-inch or a 25-inch culvert? The cost of the pipe is hardly anything, it's the mobilization, and they're already there anyway. Anyway, do I hear a motion to accept this?
So moved.
So move on, any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
All right, next item is the actual budget amendment for that project. As I mentioned, you got $75,000 last year from the county, so it's actually having to come out of the stormwater fund balance this year. And the balance of the 143 minus the 75 is also going to have to come out of the fund balance. So this budget amendment actually $175,000, you just got it last year, so it's just been, sitting there in.
So we're getting like $67,892 from the from the stormwater fund.
Yeah. It's pretty close to half and half.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
The next item is proposed capital projects for the golf course bridges. Back shortly after the storm, you had to do some emergency work on the pumps and the irrigation system for the golf course. You took $110,000 out of your funds and you paid that cost. FEMA has since paid that money back. So that $110,000 is what we're proposing to use for the construction of the bridges. So we're basically taking, funds you paid out up front, FEMA's reimbursed us, now we want to move them somewhere else to actually pay for the cost of the golf cart bridges. And that capital project ordinance is $110,196.48.
So I'm a bit confused about this and then the following budget amendment. So we had previously budgeted $108,000 for the bridge and cart path construction. That is separate from this $110,000 that we've been reimbursed?
It's the same funds, isn't it?
Yep.
Matt?
Yep. When we originally budgeted those in November, we had not gotten these funds back from FEMA. So we estimated that it would be about $108,000. We've since gotten those funds back and it was $110,000 and some change.
So they paid us more than we anticipated it would cost.
We were conservative in our estimate, which.
but at the time in November, you did come to us and ask
Yes.
for $108,000.
That was in the November 1st meeting.
And so we gave you $108,000. So what I'm hearing Doug say,
Yes.
is we got $108,000 and we got $110 there, now we got $218,000.
Right. That's what I'm confused about.
There seems to be accounting here that I'm confused on too.
Was that $108,000 ever moved from the general fund into this golf course recovery fund?
It wasn't at that time because we had not gotten those funds from FEMA yet. It was anticipated to do so. So we can just amend that one with this budget amendment to reflect that, if that makes sense.
And we don't want both of them, we just want one.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that's really what I'm getting down to is I don't want $220,000 moved into a fund.
if you find out that there is a separate budget amendment for the original 108, I think it was just I'm not sure, that the comment went through an actual budget ordinance amendment in the capital projects ordinance, so I'm going to verify that to be sure.
Yeah, because I know
If you did, we'll
you
have
sent
to
me
rescind
what we voted on in November before the $108,000 to be moved. So I just want to clarify it. I just want to confirm
If we
that.
did, we'll have you rescind that one.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the capital project ordinance?
So moved.
All right, discussion, not all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we got the budget amendment resolution.
And that's for the same amount, the 110,196.48.
I hear a motion.
I'd move to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Okay. All right. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go ahead, let's take us a quick 5-minute break then.
use system development fees for that cost. And what the proposed budget amendment does, it shows $65,000 worth of those in this current budget year, and the expenditure also occurring in this existing budget year. We've collected way more than $65,000, but that's all it's showing right now, just the $65,000 that we needed to fund this project.
Wait a minute, what's wrong there? I'm not clear on what you said. We collected.
We've collected much more than $65,000 in system development fees.
Oh, fees, okay, that's, yeah. I just got a couple of questions on that. Did we bid this one out?
Yes, I think he got cost estimates. I don't know which ones they were.
Okay, because, I mean, I've talked to a couple of contractors that I use for some of my projects. And this
We didn't do formal
65,000.
bids, yeah, we didn't do formal bids, no.
Yeah, but this fee here is quite high. I mean, the people I talked to have done it for 45,000. Because that was 500 feet, right?
I'm not sure, Dwayne, I mean, I'm not sure. I think it was over just over 500 feet, I believe.
As we're sitting here, we don't have access to the complicating factors. There's a whole lot we don't know. So I think it's too late to second guess that.
Well, you're correct. It is too late to second guess it, but it's not too late to figure out if that was what was done, and if that was the lowest that they checked on. But that'll be determined later. Do I hear a motion to accept this?
So moved.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, next item is the proposal from Retail Engineers, who is your consultant and engineer for the Lakeview Center. At your last meeting, they told you the next step of the project would be to do a detailed modeling on the, I don't think what the best term would be, for the floodplain improvement modeling. It takes a lot of work to get all the necessary numbers you need to determine what improvements can be done to the building, what improvements can be done to the building. You have to satisfy FEMA on your base flood elevation. So it takes gathering a lot of information to make that happen. Their proposal is $30,750, which would be $5,750 from Retail and $25,000 for the active aging floodplain improvement modeling, which will be done by KCI.
So this is a project that could be covered by FEMA?
Yes,
Or we're
possibly.
not sure?
Possibly. I can't say for sure.
So there's a chance that we could get that money back?
Yes, there is a chance.
That's encouraging.
There's been a lot of chances that we can get money back. We've seen very little money come back. Did we shop this around at all? I mean,
You chose your consultant based on their qualifications we averaged.
Right.
And they looked at several different engineering firms, and that engineering firm is the one you chose for this project. So once you choose them, that's your engineer for the project. So
okay.
unless you want to go back out again and you choose a different engineer.
It's just more money.
Start over.
I mean, I have.
You can't take bids for those type of services. The decision is based on the qualifications of the firm, then you negotiate the prices.
We're about to start the budget season and have greater discussions around priorities and next steps on several projects. I know that there is quite a bit of concern around what we think it will be a lower general fund balance than we were seeing at the audit that was presented earlier this year. I have some major hesitations in pushing forward projects that have not previously been budgeted at this point, and not waiting 2 months until we've had a proper budget discussions.
Well, I can assure you, when he's sitting there next year, it will be a different presentation and it will be worse in all funds. So.
The report we got, and I know that there's a lot of emotion around this building, and you know, it's almost 100 years old, and it certainly served us well, but the report we got was dismaying. In my mind, this fits right into what we were talking about earlier about having to establish priorities about what we work on now and what waits till later. And since this one's not, I don't perceive it as urgent as some of the other things that are on our plates right now. And I would like to just, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I'd like to revisit it later when we have more accurate information about our current budget situation. And keep our attention on the public safety issues that we've got right now. I mean, we just can't do all of these things all at the same time. And that's why we spent all that time establishing criteria for how to prioritize projects. And this, you know, I'm listening to the police and the fire tell all of us that it's very disheartening when we spend a lot of time talking about things other than this crisis. That's what they called it, a crisis, and that's what I perceive it to be as well. And I would just like to revisit this after we get a better idea of where we are with our fund balance, and get some of these other really, really urgent things taken care of first. I don't know how much money we have.
Well,
And if we need to put money out for triple lights and get them up here and get them installed, I want to have that money available and not committed to other projects that are not as urgent.
So do you want to table this? Do you want to make a motion to table it?
That would be my preference, and I would like to make that motion.
Okay. There's a motion to table it. Any discussion?
I mean, like I said, I think we need to, this needs to be part of a larger budget discussion, and I would agree with Pam that now is not the time to move forward with this.
Any more discussion?
Sorry, Councilman Ricky, excuse me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, I think, even before I got here, y'all, the council heard about a safety issue at the intersection of Black Mountain Avenue and Sutton Avenue. And I think that it kind of got lost in the shuffle, so we do have a formal proposal now from JMT Engineering and Planning in the amount of $4,500 to complete the safety study on that intersection. That could be taken out of the power mill funds if you want to move forward with it. Just wasn't sure if it was, not as important now as it was back, 4 or 5 months ago.
I'll speak to this as well. I do think there's some urgency around making adjustments to that intersection. I think especially going into the summer months, it's just going to get more trafficked and become a bigger issue. Having had a few discussions with the various staff members about this after we voted to fund a study, I'm at this point not convinced that we need a study and we can't just make a ruling ourselves and throw up a stop sign at a couple intersections. So I think Michelle might be out of office today, but I would love her opinion on that. And if we can avoid moving forward with the study and keep that $4,500 in Powell bill for road paving or sidewalk improvements, then I would prefer to do that.
Do you want to go ahead and make that, you want to try to table it to the next meeting so that Michelle can address it to us?
That would be my recommendation.
That
I would make that motion, yes.
Okay. You've heard the motion, any more discussion? I basically think all we gotta do is put up a couple more stop signs.
I agree.
And we're done.
Yeah, the way I understood it was once we do that, there's a liability issue, and since we're not traffic engineers, but I am certainly not an expert on this topic, so I appreciate you giving us another month to get some more information.
Yeah, I think more information is helpful. And I also want to point out that when we last talked about this, we also talked about moving one of the signs when you're coming northbound, I think, so it'd be more visible, and making sure that that striping was repainted. So there are some things that we can do, like, right now, to make sure that we're getting that intersection ready.
Did you vote on that, Mayor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, patiently waiting for a long evening. The Black Mountain Center for the Arts currently has a lease on our building.
We should have moved y'all up in the agenda, I'm so sorry.
That was for a period of 25 years, which makes that lease expire in 2028. They are requesting an extension of 5 years or possibly more. If they go after grant funds, they have to be able to show that they have use of that building for an extended period of time. As you know, we've got some significant costs that need to be put in that building. So they're here if they want to make a presentation or answer questions you might have.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. So I didn't want to assume that everybody knew about all the great things that happened at the Black Mountain Center for the Arts. And so here's our annual report from 2025. And let me introduce myself. My name is John Hall. I'm the interim executive director at the Black Mountain Center for the Arts as of about a month ago. And it's truly an honor to be in that position. So that's all good stuff right there that I just gave you. And I'm going to start off by preamble with a bit of good stuff here, because it's just down the road here, 225 West State Street. For 25 years, BMCA has worked hard to fulfill its mission to bring the arts to the people and the people to the arts. We've done this with quality community arts programming, such as our gallery exhibits highlighting regional artists, our dance classes serving everyone from toddlers to adults to special needs individuals, our art studio, our very busy clay studio, and of course our 80-seat theater that hosts numerous concerts, plays, storytelling events, and comedy. But the Gail Jackson Theater also is the home to our free choral group, the Swananoa Valley Community Chorus, our Junior Appalachian Musicians Program, our Senior Appalachian Musicians Program, and the Encore Players, a senior readers theater company. Through this arts programming, we have culturally enriched Black Mountain and the Swananoa Valley and helped make this small town a place of big arts. That's the good stuff. However, I tell you what, it's clear from me sitting here this evening that, as if I didn't know already, that hurricane has just cast a long shadow over this valley. And we are no exception at the Black Mountain Center for the Arts. We have been hampered in our mission to bring in the arts to the people due to the fact that our elevator has stopped functioning safely since Hurricane Helene. Due to water intrusion, which was occurring even before the hurricane, the elevator has become unable to function. Our art gallery and dance studio are inaccessible to a significant portion of our patrons who have mobility constraints. BMCA is not in compliance with ADA requirements. We obtained 3 bids for elevator repair and replacement, as well as a bid to fix the water issues in the elevator shaft and mechanical room, and shared them with the town in February of 2025, way back then. We were thrilled to hear from Erica Anderson of Land of Sky organization, and happily sent her all our information about needed repairs. In fact, our board chair, Mary, met with her just recently. So BMCA would like to assist in fundraising for elevator replacement or repair, but we have found that funding sources require an organization to show proof of lease for more than just a few years, as Richard mentioned. This is why we're here, respectfully to request that the town of Black Mountain, which owns our building, to extend our lease. Now, the lease is up 2028, so what we're asking is, now according to the current lease language, It provides for the possibility of a 5-year lease extension, and we're requesting that this lease be tacked on to 2028, which would take us into 2033.
And that was adequate for the needs of the Land of Sky when you talked to Erica? At least to 2033 would justify grant expenditures?
And things like the tourism and development
The TDA,
grant,
yeah,
TDA grant, and things like Canon and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
They don't want to. They're much more hesitant to provide funds unless they know that we can actually we would actually be there for a while.
Of course, yeah.
For something as big as the elevator. So, the town of Black Mountain owns the building. Under the lease, it is the town's responsibility. The elevator is the town's responsibility. So to extend that lease really helps us help y'all, and we can work together, because the only way it's going to get done is if we can work together. So that's why we're requesting this 5-year extension on the lease.
As my grandmother said,
Sorry?
the world works best when we help each other out.
Indeed.
Because you're gonna do the work to go ahead and get the money to fix
At
our
least-
building.
at least some of it.
So, that sounds good to me.
Well, it's really hampered, in the board meetings I've attended, it's become abundantly clear that it hampers your ability to raise money and to serve your community when you're trying to have a show up on the upstairs floor and whatnot, and folks just can't get up there, and sometimes they take chances getting up there that they shouldn't take.
Pam, I'm glad I was going to mention that, because we've had some folks who want to get up there to that, the gallery exhibit, especially during things like Art and Bloom, which is our biggest fundraiser, and we have been really nervous because there are people who should not be trying those stairs who are trying those stairs. So it's a liability as well. So,
I appreciate your creativity and enthusiasm for working together.
Absolutely.
Let's get this done.
Thank you for being such good community partners.
Do I hear that as a motion, maybe?
Yes, I do. I would love to make that motion.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
What you doing, John?
Okay, next item is a requested sewer easement from the Metropolitan Sewer District. There is a private sewer line on Carver Avenue that they have been maintaining over years. It's completely just about falling apart. And they're willing to install a new line if the adjoining property owner will sign an easement. A portion of that line goes through our property. So we're asking for the council to authorize us to execute the proposed sewer easement.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to that?
So it sounds like this is part one of two. There's this initial letter and then a further, this is the pre-agreement that we're looking at today?
Yeah, they basically want to know, if the town will sign these, is the first step. And then if we are willing to sign it, then they will prepare a formal easement for our signature.
Okay. And if we find the formal one to need questioning, adjusting, discussing, then we have authority to do that. Okay, great. Well, I'll move that we authorize the execution of the sewer easement with the Metropolitan Sewerage District of Buncombe County on Carver Avenue.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And next item, you have an election coming up this year. The Board of Elections has asked that you establish the candidate fees for the upcoming election. I think historically it's been $5, which should not stop anybody from filing for a seat at that cost.
These fees are collected by the county, but then returned to the town, is that right, or?
I think they keep.
They keep
The county board of elections, yeah.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
That would move that we keep the current fee schedule as that we have now, $5.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
And the last item was your resolution authorizing the mayor of the town of Black Mountain to execute an amended joint cooperation agreement to add the town of Marsville and the town of Marshall to the actual regional housing consortium.
And there's also as a part of that, then the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium Joint Cooperation Agreement. So that's the other piece of paper that you have here, but these are really, they go together. I'm happy to answer any questions, at least to the best of my ability, about how the group functions and the benefit of having these municipalities.
Maybe not tonight, but some night I would love to get an overview of how the group functions and what y'all do. That would be an interesting report early at a meeting, an agenda of a meeting sometime.
Yeah, we could talk about that. We have a meeting coming up in May, I think, so maybe at the June meeting, if we're not bogged down too much of the budget, I could give a brief synopsis of where we're at.
Interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Happy to.
All right.
I need a motion to approve that resolution.
So I would move that we approve this resolution and enter into the joint cooperation. Let me get my wording. And join the cooperation agreement for the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium.
Okay. Any discussion? All not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last, we got a closed session.
Now, we need a closed session to discuss personnel related items and attorney-client privilege. So the motion will need to add both of those.
I'd like to make that motion. We go into closed session to discuss what our interim town manager just said.
Personnel related items.
And attorney-client privilege.
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.